Hey guys, it's Gary here with a legal tip about withholding capital gains taxes in South Carolina for military personnel. So, as most of you know, when you're a real estate closing attorney and you're doing a transaction involving a non-resident in the state of South Carolina, and this probably applies for most of the states out there as well, that you have to withhold that non-resident's potential capital gain tax. And so, for instance, if a resident, somebody has a house in Columbia, South Carolina, but they're a resident of Texas and live in Texas and are selling this house, maybe it's an investment or a second home or whatever, we have to withhold if it's an individual 5% of their capital gain or 7% if it's got as a corporation. And so we have to withhold that money from their proceeds. So the question is, how about military? Because there's several exemptions, and one of the most popular exemptions is if the individual lived in the house 2 out of the last 5 years as their primary residence, then they're exempt from that withholding. So, for example, again, living in Texas, but 2 years ago, let's say they bought the house 3 years ago, they lived in the house 2 years, moved to Texas and rented it for a year. We would not have to withhold the capital gain money at that point because they would qualify for that exemption 2 out of the last 5 years as their primary residence. But the military has a different one, and this is really neat. The military, as it says that the rule is for capital gains, that if they are in the military active duty and they have a permanent change of station that extends their 60 month period up to an additional 10 years. So it's basically 15 years that all they have to do is live in the house 2 out of the last 15 years, and then we don't have to withhold a capital gain in the state of South Carolina. So let's say you're in the military, you bought a house here in 2010, you lived in the house 2010, 11, and 12, 13, then you moved because you were PCS to Fort Carson, Colorado, and you've been moving around, but you've kept this house here and you've rented it. Even though you haven't lived in that house 2 of the last 5 years, in the military it'd be 2 out of the last 15, you would qualify for that exemption. And when you sell the house now, we would not have to withhold any of that capital gain tax. So it's a very nice benefit for the military. A lot of attorneys didn't know about it. It's something we just found just recently because we hired Marshall Minton, who is our estate planning attorney, but she also has a master's of taxation from the University of Florida. Go Gamecocks, just saying. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this week's legal tip and tune in again next week for another one. Y'all take care. Have a great week.